Carefully, because this message is not random. It is not coincidence that these words have reached your ears at this exact moment in your life. Something inside you has been restless. You have been searching, worrying, wondering how things will work out. You have been asking questions in the quiet moments of your heart. What am I supposed to do now? Where is my opportunity? Why are doors closing instead of opening? And right there, in the middle of that uncertainty, a powerful truth rises like thunder in your spirit. God said, don't look for a job. Yes, you heard it clearly. God said, don't look for a job, because the season you are in is not about chasing positions created by people. It is about preparing for purpose designed by God. This message is not for everyone. It is for the one who feels like they are standing at a crossroads. It is for the one who has knocked on doors that never opened. It is for the one who has sent applications, waited for responses, and heard nothing but silence. If that is you, then understand something powerful. Sometimes silence from the world is actually a signal from God. There are moments in life when God deliberately interrupts the path we think we should take. The world tells you that success comes from searching, applying, competing, and convincing someone else to give you permission to survive. But God is not limited by the systems people create. God is not dependent on interviews, resumes, or approval from managers and corporations. When God decides to elevate a person, no human authority can block that elevation. When God decides to open a door, no lock can hold it shut. And when God decides to redirect your life, even rejection becomes protection. The reason some doors have not opened for you is not because you are unqualified. It is because God is refusing to allow you to settle in a place that cannot contain your destiny. Think about the frustration you have carried. Think about the moments when you wondered why things seem so difficult while others moved forward easily. But understand this truth. God does not prepare extraordinary destinies through ordinary paths. When God has a greater purpose for someone, the journey often looks confusing from the outside. People may question you. They may say you are wasting time, that you need to hurry, that you must follow the same route everyone else follows. But the voice of God does not echo the panic of the world. The voice of God speaks with divine wisdom, and sometimes that voice whispers a command that sounds strange to human logic. Do not chase what I have not assigned to you. You see, the problem is not that jobs are bad. Work itself is honorable and necessary, but there are times when people spend their entire lives chasing employment when God created them to build, to lead, to create, to transform, to innovate, and to serve in ways far greater than a paycheck can measure. God did not place breath in your lungs simply for you to spend your days surviving under someone else's limitations. There are moments when God intentionally delays the path you expect because God is trying to awaken the potential you have ignored. There is a reason you feel that inner resistance whenever you try to force yourself into certain situations. There is a reason your spirit feels heavy when you imagine living the same routine year after year without purpose. That feeling is not laziness. That feeling is not failure. Feeling is a signal. It is the whisper of destiny trying to break through the noise of fear. God is calling you to see yourself differently. God is asking you to trust that your life is not an accident and that your path cannot be defined by the limitations of the world around you. But trusting that voice requires courage. It requires the kind of faith that refuses to panic when the timeline does not make sense. The world measures progress through quick results. The world expects everything to happen immediately, but God works with divine timing. God prepares you in hidden seasons before revealing you in public moments, and sometimes that preparation includes the uncomfortable experience of waiting, wondering, and learning to trust without visible proof. Look back at your life for a moment. There were situations you thought would destroy you, but somehow you survived them. There were obstacles that looked impossible, yet you found a way through them. There were nights when worry kept you awake, but morning still came with new strength. None of that happened by accident. God has been guiding you long before you realized it. God has been protecting you from dangers you never saw. And God has been shaping your character through experiences that seemed unfair at the time. So when God says, do not look for a job, it does not mean you should abandon responsibility or effort. It means you must stop believing that your future depends entirely on human systems. It means you must stop reducing your destiny to a title on a business card. God is reminding you that provision comes from the Creator, not the creation. Opportunities do not originate from corporations, they originate from divine permission. Imagine what happens when a person truly understands that truth. Fear begins to lose its power. Anxiety begins to fade. Instead of begging for approval, you begin to walk with confidence. Instead of chasing opportunities blindly, you begin to seek guidance from God. Your focus shifts from desperation to purpose. Your heart shifts from panic to faith. And when that shift happens, something remarkable begins to unfold. God begins to reveal ideas you never considered. God begins to place inspiration in your mind. God begins to connect you with people who recognize your potential. Doors appear that you never knocked on. Paths open that you never planned. Suddenly you realize that while you were worried about employment, God was preparing something greater than employment. God was preparing assignment. An assignment is different from a job. A job is something you do for income. An assignment is something you do because it aligns with your purpose. A job can be taken away by people. An assignment is sustained by God. And when a person walks in an assignment, the impact goes beyond personal survival. It begins to influence others, uplift communities, and create lasting change. The reason this message feels powerful is because something inside you already knows it is true. Deep within your heart, there is a calling that refuses to stay silent. There is a dream you have tried to ignore because it seems too big, too uncertain, too risky. But God does not place dreams inside people as decoration. God places them there as direction. Fear is the voice that tells you to play small. Fear says you must settle for whatever is available. Fear says you must silence your vision and accept a life that barely satisfies your spirit. But the voice of God reminds you that the same power that created the universe is capable of guiding your life. The voice of God reminds you that your existence has meaning far beyond survival. This is why you must guard your mind carefully during seasons of uncertainty. The world will try to convince you that you are behind, that you are wasting time. But time in the hands of God is never wasted. What looks like delay is often preparation. What looks like rejection is often redirection. And what looks like an ending is often the beginning of something greater. There are people who will not understand your journey, and that is okay. Not everyone is meant to understand the path God has designed for you. Some people measure life only through visible achievements. They cannot see the invisible work happening within your spirit. They cannot see the courage you are building, the wisdom you are gaining, the resilience you are developing. But God sees it all. He sees the tears you wiped away when no one was watching. God sees the prayers you whispered in moments of exhaustion. God sees the determination you carried even when you felt discouraged. And God honors that perseverance. The journey you are walking is not meaningless. It is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable than you realize. So when you hear the words, God said, don't look for a job, understand the deeper meaning. It is not a command to become idle. It is a call to, it is an invitation to trust that your life is guided by a higher plan. It is a reminder that the creator of the universe is fully capable of providing opportunities beyond your imagination. The greatest mistake people make is believing that security comes from human structures. They believe stability comes from contracts and salaries. But history has shown again and again that systems can collapse overnight. Companies can disappear. Markets can change. Positions can vanish. If your TE is built entirely on those structures, your sense of security will always be fragile. But when your trust is rooted in God, your foundation becomes unshakable. You begin to realize that provision does not depend on circumstances. Provision depends on the will of God. When God decides to bless someone, resources appear in unexpected ways. When God decides to elevate someone, influence grows beyond boundaries. Faith does not mean ignoring reality. Faith means understanding that reality is not limited to what your eyes can see. Faith means believing that the same power that sustains the stars in the sky is capable of guiding your path on earth. Faith means waking up each day with the confidence that God is working behind the scenes even when you cannot see immediate results. Right now, you may feel like you are standing in a place of uncertainty, but uncertainty is often the birthplace of transformation. When everything is predictable, growth becomes limited. But when life pushes you into unfamiliar territory, your mind expands, your spirit strengthens, your dependence on God depends. And that deeper dependence is the key. Because once you learn to rely on God instead of systems, you discover a freedom that many people never experience. You are no longer controlled by fear of rejection. You are no longer paralyzed by comparison. You begin to walk with a sense of peace that cannot be explained by logic. That peace comes from knowing that your life is not random. It comes That every experience, every challenge, every delay is part of a larger design. God is not improvising your destiny. God is orchestrating it. So lift your head, release the pressure that has been weighing on your heart. Stop measuring your worth by the standards of the world. Stop believing that your value is determined by titles and positions. Your value was established the moment God gave you life. The path ahead may not look conventional. It may require courage. But remember this truth: when God guides a person, that guidance leads to places that human plans could never reach. Do not be afraid of a future that requires faith. Do not be afraid of a calling that stretches your imagination. If God has placed something unique inside you, then God will also provide the wisdom, strength, and opportunity needed to bring it to life. The world may say, find a job. But when God speaks, the message goes deeper. God is not merely concerned with your employment. God is concerned with your purpose. And when purpose awakens, a person becomes unstoppable. So stand firm in faith. Seek guidance from God with sincerity. Listen carefully to the direction placed within your spirit. Because the same voice that said, do not chase what the world expects, is also the voice that will lead you toward a destiny far greater than you ever imagined. And when that destiny begins to unfold, you will look back at this moment and realize something powerful. What once felt like confusion was actually divine direction. What once felt like delay was actually preparation. And what once felt like rejection was actually protection. Because when God leads your life, every step, even the difficult ones, moves you closer to the purpose you were created to fulfill. And listen closely, because this is where the transformation truly begins. When God interrupts the path you expected, it is never to leave you stranded, it is to awaken a deeper awareness. Within you, too many people spend their lives trying to fit into systems that were never designed to carry their purpose. They shrink their vision to match the expectations around them. They silence their inner calling because the world demands something more predictable. But when God begins to move in a person's life, predictability disappears. Comfort zones begin to break. Familiar routines begin to shake. And in that shaking, God is not destroying you. God is releasing you from limitations. He once believed were permanent. You must understand that God is not confined by the patterns that govern society. God is not dependent on the economic climate, the opinions of influential people, or the stability of human institutions. The same God who controls the movement of the oceans, who commands the wind and the rain, who sustains the stars without effort, is the same God who knows your name, knows your struggle, and knows the destiny written for your life. When you truly understand that, fear begins to lose its grip on your heart. Because if God is the source of your provision, then no drought in the world can starve your future. There are moments when God intentionally closes familiar doors so that your attention can turn toward possibilities you never considered. Human nature wants to hold on to what feels secure, even when that security quietly suffocates potential. But God refuses to allow your life to become smaller than the purpose placed inside you. God will disturb your comfort if comfort begins to weaken your calling. God will remove false stability if that stability begins to imprison your destiny. What feels like loss is often divine protection. What feels like disruption is often divine instruction. Many people misunderstand seasons of waiting. They think waiting means nothing is happening. They believe that silence means abandonment. But in the language of faith, waiting is never empty. Waiting is the workshop where God shapes patience, charity, and resilience. Waiting is the place where distractions fade and purpose becomes visible. In the stillness of uncertainty, God begins to sharpen your awareness. You start noticing ideas you once ignored. You start feeling compassion for problems you once overlooked. You begin to sense directions that once seemed impossible. God sometimes pulls you away from noise so you can hear the whisper of your calling. Because when life is full of distractions, purpose can remain buried beneath. But when the noise fades and you are forced to face the quiet truth of your heart, something remarkable begins to happen. Vision starts to rise. Dreams you once buried start to breathe again. Creativity begins to flow in ways that surprise you. These moments are not accidents, they are divine awakenings. The world often teaches people to fear uncertainty, but faith teaches you to see opportunity inside it. When you no longer cling desperately to one specific outcome, your mind becomes to divine guidance. You begin to ask deeper questions. Instead of asking, where can I work? You begin asking, what did God place inside me to give to the world? Instead of asking, who will hire me, you begin asking, where is God directing my strength and ability? That shift changes everything. Because once you begin to focus on purpose instead of permission, you step into a completely different dimension of possibility. Understand something powerful. God does not create people without equipping them. Every person carries abilities, insights, and gifts placed there intentionally. Some people discover those gifts early, while others uncover them through seasons of struggle. But no gift is meaningless. No ability is accidental. The challenge is that many people never pause long enough to recognize what God has placed within them. They are too busy chasing external validation to notice internal treasure. When God tells you not to look for a job, it can also mean this. Look within, look at the talents you have overlooked. Look at the ideas you dismissed because they seemed unconventional. Look at the passion that keeps returning no matter how often you try to ignore it. God often hides destiny inside the very things that excite your spirit and move your heart. What energizes you may be a clue to the assignment waiting for you. There are people who will tell you that dreams are unrealistic. They will say that purpose does not pay bills. They will say that must be sacrificed for survival. But remember this, the voice of fear often disguises itself as practical advice. People speak from their own limitations, their own disappointments, their own fears. But God does not measure possibility by human experience. God measures possibility by divine power. Look at the vastness of creation. The mountains rise with strength that has endured for centuries. The oceans stretch beyond the horizon, holding mysteries deeper than human understanding. Holds galaxies that move in perfect order without human direction. If God can sustain such complexity with ease, then surely God can guide one life with purpose and precision. The same divine wisdom that organizes the universe is capable of organizing your path. This realization should ignite something within you. It should awaken a boldness that refuses to surrender to doubt. Because when you trust that God is guiding your life, you begin to walk differently. Your posture changes, your decisions change. You no longer move from panic, you move from faith. You no longer chase every opportunity that appears, you seek alignment with divine direction. Faith does not eliminate effort. Faith transforms the motivation behind your effort. Instead of working from fear of lack, you begin working from confidence in provision. Instead of striving to prove your worth, you begin expressing the value God already placed within you. And when effort flows from faith rather than fear, your energy becomes powerful and focused. Another truth you must understand is that God often prepares leaders in hidden places. Before influence appears, character must be strengthened. Before responsibility increases, wisdom must deepen. Many people want visibility immediately, but God values preparation more than applause. The unseen seasons are where integrity is built. They are where discipline grows. They are where your spirit becomes strong enough to handle the weight of future. If success arrived before your character was ready, it could destroy you instead of elevating you. That is why God allows certain delays, not as punishment, but as protection. God is shaping the person you are becoming so that when opportunity finally arrives, you will not collapse under its pressure. You will stand firm with humility, clarity, and gratitude. During this preparation, you may feel misunderstood. People may question your direction. They may think you are wandering without. But God's process is not always visible to others. The roots of a great tree grow silently underground long before the branches reach the sky. In the same way, the foundation of your destiny is being strengthened in places where human eyes cannot see. So do not rush the process. Do not panic when progress seems slow. Divine timing moves with perfect precision. Every lesson learned today prepares you for responsibilities tomorrow. Every obstacle you overcome strengthens the resilience you will need later. God wastes nothing. Every experience, every challenge, every unexpected turn becomes part of the story shaping your destiny. There is also another powerful truth many people overlook. Provision often follows purpose. When you align your life with what God designed you to do, doors begin to open in ways that logic cannot predict. Resources begin to flow toward the impact you are creating. People are drawn to authenticity, to passion, to vision that carries genuine purpose. What begins as a simple idea guided by faith can grow into something that blesses not only your life, but the lives of many others. But you must remain humble in this journey. Pride is one of the greatest threats to purpose. The moment a person begins to believe success comes solely from their own ability, they disconnect from the source of wisdom and guidance. Remember always that every gift you have, every opportunity you receive, every achievement you celebrate is possible only because God allowed. Humility keeps your heart open to guidance. It keeps your spirit grounded in gratitude, and gratitude is powerful. A grateful heart sees blessings even in difficult seasons. A grateful heart recognizes that every breath is a gift and every new day is another chance to walk closer to purpose. There will still be challenges ahead. Faith does not remove difficulty from life, but faith changes how you face difficulty. When you know that God is guiding your path, obstacles no longer feel like. They become tests of endurance, opportunities for growth, reminders to trust deeper. Sometimes God allows storms not to sink you, but to reveal the strength within you. The pressure you feel today may be developing courage you never knew you possessed. The uncertainty you face today may be pushing you to rely on divine wisdom rather than human expectations. And through that process, your spirit becomes unshakable. Think about how powerful that transformation is. A person who once feared the future becomes someone who walks into the unknown with confidence. A person who once doubted their worth becomes someone who recognizes the divine purpose within them. A person who once begged for opportunities becomes someone who creates opportunities guided by faith. This is the power of trusting God's direction. It changes your identity. It changes how you see yourself and how you see the world around you. Instead of feeling small in a vast system, you realize that your life has meaning far beyond a paycheck or a title. Your existence becomes a vessel through which purpose flows, and when you live with that awareness, even the smallest actions become significant. Every conversation, every decision, every act of kindness carries weight. You begin to see life as a series of divine appointments rather than random events. The people you meet, the ideas you encounter, the challenges you face all become part of the unfolding plan. So if your heart has been heavy with worry, about the future, release that burden today. Replace anxiety with trust. Replace doubt with faith. The same God who carried you through every past challenge will continue guiding you forward. The path may not look the way you imagined, but it will lead exactly where it needs to go. Stand firm in that truth. Hold on to the conviction that your life is not defined by limitations imposed by the world. Your life is shaped by the will of God. And when God speaks purpose into existence, no force on. Cancel it. Let your faith rise higher than your fear. Let your vision grow stronger than your doubts. Because when God says not to chase what the world expects, it is only because something greater is being prepared for you. And the moment that preparation becomes visible, you will understand why every delay, every closed door, and every season of uncertainty was necessary. You will see that God was not denying you a future. God was designing a destiny. Must understand in this sacred moment of awakening, when God redirects a person's path, it is not merely about changing circumstances, it is about transforming identity. For many years, you may have been taught to see yourself as someone who must depend entirely on the decisions of others. Society trains people to believe that their future lies in the hands of employers, institutions, and systems. But when God begins to speak purpose into your spirit, that old identity begins to crumble. You to realize that you are never created to live a life defined only by human approval. You are created to live a life guided by divine direction. God is not raising a generation of people who simply exist within systems. God is awakening individuals who carry vision, creativity, courage, and wisdom that can reshape the very systems they once depended on. This awakening does not happen overnight. It begins quietly within the heart. A thought appears that refuses to disappear. An idea begins to stir your imagination. A sense of possibility rises that challenges everything you once believed about your limitations. That stirring is not random inspiration, it is the whisper of destiny being revealed. When God plants a vision in the heart of a person, that vision often appears larger than the person's current resources, larger than their current skills, and larger than their current understanding. This is intentional. God does not give small visions to awaken great purpose. The size of the vision forces you to rely on divine guidance rather than personal comfort. It pushes you beyond the boundaries of what you believe you can do alone. And in that process, faith begins to grow. Faith grows strongest in moments when certainty disappears, When every detail of your future is already clear, faith is not required. But when the path ahead is hidden and you must trust that God is leading you step by step, your spirit develops a deeper strength. That strength cannot be purchased, borrowed or learned through theory. It is built through experience. It is forged in the moments when you choose trust instead of fear. You must also understand that when God shifts your direction, the first thing that changes is not your surroundings, but your perspective. Your eyes begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. Your mind begins to imagine solutions where others see impossibilities. Your heart begins to feel compassion for problems that others ignore. This transformation is a transformation. It is powerful because it allows you to recognize purpose in places where others see nothing. The world often overlooks hidden potential because it focuses only on what already exists. But God specializes in bringing forth what does not yet exist. The same divine power that brought life into existence from nothing continues to create possibilities to people who are willing to trust divine guidance. When you align your life with God's direction, you become part of that creative force. There will be moments during this journey when doubt tries to return. Doubt whispers that the path is too uncertain, that the risk is too great, that the expectations are too high. But remember, this doubt grows loudest when purpose begins to move forward. The closer you come to stepping into your calling, the more fear will attempt to pull you backward. That is why your faith must remain rooted not in temporary circumstances, but in the unchanging power of God. Every day you wake up with breath in your lungs is evidence that God has not finished with your story. Every new sunrise carries the possibility of a breakthrough you cannot yet see. God does not abandon the lives God begins shaping. The journey may contain difficulty, but the direction remains guided by divine wisdom. Sometimes God will place you in situations that stretch your abilities beyond what feels comfortable. You may find yourself facing challenges that seem too large for your current understanding. But these moments are not accidents, they are invitations to grow. God expands your capacity by allowing you to face challenges that require deeper wisdom, stronger discipline, and greater courage. When you begin to operate from purpose instead of fear, your actions start to influence others in ways you may not immediately realize. People notice authenticity. They recognize conviction. They are drawn to individuals who move with clarity and faith rather than confusion and doubt. Your courage to trust direction becomes a source of inspiration for others who are searching for meaning in their own lives. You may think your journey is only about your personal future, but purpose rarely affects only one person. When God raises someone with vision and integrity, that person's impact reaches families, communities, and generations. The decisions you make today can shape opportunities for people you may never meet. The courage you show today can ignite hope in someone who feels trapped by their chances. That is why obedience to God's guidance carries such weight. It is not merely about personal success, it is about participating in something greater than yourself. God often chooses ordinary individuals to carry extraordinary influence, not because they are perfect, but because they are willing to trust divine direction. As you walk forward, remember that gratitude is one of the greatest strengths a person can carry. Gratitude keeps your heart focused on what God has already done, instead of what you fear has not yet happened. When you remember the ways God has carried you through the past, your confidence in the future grows stronger. Gratitude protects your spirit from becoming overwhelmed by temporary challenges. Another essential truth in this journey is patience. The world celebrates instant success, but the most meaningful achievements often grow slowly. A tree that grows too quickly without deep roots cannot survive strong winds, but a tree that grows steadily, turning its roots beneath the surface, can stand through storms that would destroy weaker structures. God often builds lives the same way. Your foundation is being strengthened in ways that may not yet be visible. Your understanding is deepening. Your resilience is growing. Your awareness of purpose is becoming clear with every passing experience. These developments are preparing you for opportunities that require wisdom as much as talent. When those opportunities appear, you will recognize them not because they look easy, but because they align with the vision God has placed in your heart. They will resonate with the sense of purpose that has been growing within you. You will feel a peace that confirms you are moving in the right direction, even if the path still requires courage. Peace is one of the most powerful confirmations that God is guiding your steps. It is not the absence of challenges, but the presence of inner stability, even while challenges exist. When your remains calm in the midst of uncertainty, it is often because your spirit recognizes that you are walking within divine guidance. And as your journey continues, remember to remain generous with the wisdom you gain. There will be people who face the same confusion you once experienced. There will be individuals who doubt their purpose just as you once doubted yours. When the time comes, your story can become a light for them. Your experience can become a testimony that reminds others that guiding lives today. Never underestimate the power of a life transformed by faith. A single individual who trusts God wholeheartedly can influence countless others to believe again. Courage spreads, hope multiplies, vision expands, and through that ripple effect, the impact of one life becomes far greater than anyone could predict. So continue walking forward with confidence. Continue seeking guidance from God with sincerity and humility. Let your decisions be shaped by purpose rather than fear. Let your efforts be guided by faith rather than desperation. Trust that every step taken with sincerity will lead you closer to the destiny prepared for you. The message remains clear and powerful. When God says, do not chase what the world expects, it is because something greater is unfolding. The delay was not denial. The silence was not abandonment. The closed doors were not rejection. They were signals pointing you toward a path that could only be discovered through trust. One day when you look back at the journey, you will see a pattern that once felt invisible. You will recognize how every challenge strengthened your character, how every moment of uncertainty deepened your faith, and how every redirection moved you closer to purpose. You will understand that God was never withholding opportunity. God was preparing you to become the kind of person who could carry opportunity with wisdom, humility, and strength. And when that realization fills your heart, you with a confidence that cannot be shaken by temporary circumstances. Because you will know without doubt that your life is guided not by chance, not by human systems, but by the infinite wisdom and power of God. And now as this message reaches its final moments, let your heart become still for a moment and truly absorb the weight of everything that has been spoken. Because this was never just a speech. This was a call to awaken. A call to rise above the fear, the pressure, and the temptations that the world has tried to place upon your life. From the very beginning, the message has been clear and powerful. God said, don't look for a job, not because work is unimportant, not because effort is unnecessary, but because your life was never meant to be defined by survival alone. Your life was meant to be guided by purpose. You were not created to spend your entire existence chasing permission from people who cannot see what God placed inside you. You were not created to measure your worth by the approval of systems that change with time. Your value was established long before anyone wrote a job description, long before any institution existed, long before anyone formed an opinion about your ability. Your value was established the moment God breathed life into you and placed purpose within your spirit. The world will always try to convince you that security comes from following the same path everyone else follows. It will tell you that safety lies in doing what can, in fitting into roles that others created, in limiting your dreams so they appear practical. But the voice of God does not speak from limitation. The voice of God speaks from divine vision. And when God begins to awaken a person to purpose, that purpose will always feel bigger than comfort, bigger than fear, and bigger than the expectations of society.